Friday night game. It was South Sydney going down 18-10 to the Melbourne Storms. 2 tries for Souths, 3 tries for Melbourne, 1 from 2 and 3 from 3 with the boot. 84% completion rate to 77 with 11 errors to 8. Now, for me, I tipped Souths. You obviously tipped Melbourne. You got the tip here. And I think if I would have read into the stats a little bit more, to my amazement, is South Sydney has never beaten Storm 2 times in a row. So that was one massive stat that jumped out to me. But in 38 appearances, I think it was something like South Sydney have only won 7. So I guess my question to you before we do talk about this result is there any other team in this competition that owns another team like Storm owns South Sydney in head-to-head battles?
Probably Queensland during the mid 2000s in State of Origin. We own New South Wales, but apart from that, no, not at Clubland. As you touched on, like 34 times, only 7 wins. Regardless of where they play, it's big stats, it's big numbers, and it's wild Backham always against South Sydney.
And I guess, what did you make of this game? Obviously, it was a bit of a close game. Kinney got across the line. It then went back and fro. Campbell Graham, he got across the line, and obviously Munster's try did kind of open up this game and gave Storm the result. But let's talk about Campbell Graham for a second. You're a Queenslander. You probably don't want to see the best players get picked for New South Wales, but if you had to pick based on form, does Campbell Graham make this New South Wales squad?
No, he makes the extended squad. Doesn't make my start at 13, but he makes my extended squad at this current time. If I had to pick centres right here, right now, it is Tommy T on one side, and it will be Jackie Wyden on the other.
You're dropping Latrell?
Just at this current form, Latrell just seems to he's slow. He's slow to start in games, and if we're talking Origin, where it's basically you have to go from 0 to 100 from the moment the ref blows his whistle. You can't have a player who's just going to slowly get into that game. You need a player that's just going to get in and do what it needs to do. And I think at this current time, the Troll doesn't fit that mold, and maybe he makes a fullback with Teddy, getting more concussed. Maybe he flops there. Maybe he does make centre, and Tommy T makes his debut at fullback for the Blues. It's just basically a waiting game at this current time.
Well, I mean, you do bring up a good point. Obviously, I was going to bring up Latrell Mitchell, so let's talk about him while we are on this topic. We talk about being a slow starter, but I don't know if it's a slow starter or if it's just he knows how good he is. He lets that get to his head and he doesn't explode. He kind of tries to preserve his energy until, say, the last 20 minutes when everyone's tired, and he does these magical things that we go, holy shit, where was this for 60 minutes? And I compare him to the likes of, like we've said, the James Tedesco's, the Trebojeviches, the Dylan Edwards. Edward catches a ball, and he's running 110 miles per hour back at you. He's trying to break through that line. He's trying to get as many meters as he can. Whereas Latrell gets the ball, and he kind of, like you said, he's slow. He walks a couple steps. He's kind of looking for that pass, and he slowly starts to take off. So I don't know if he needs to go back into the centers where he dominated. He needs to let Blake Tuff come into fullback, who will catch a ball and will go 100 miles per hour. But I guess, what do you make of that? Do you think that he's overconfident? Do you think he's still a bit weary with his injury? Do you think he's just that's the style of fullback that he plays? Like, what do you make about Latrell and his slow start at the moment?
I think he was always a bit of not as slow as he is now to get into the game. I think when he was at the Roosters playing centre, he was a bit of centre's a bit, you don't really receive much of the ball, aka as you do at fullback. But compare him to Tedesco. Tedesco's had some knee and leg problems, but that was all before he joined the Roosters. Latrell's hit sort of mid career, and sort of he's at his, if not at his peak best, and he's copped a massive injury with that hamstring. So maybe that's his way of warming up into the game. Instead of going from 0 to 100, he just slowly gets into the game and he goes, well, I know over the course of the game, I know come the back end, I'm going to be ready to go and whatnot, but time ticks away from you in a game, and 1 minute you're looking up up at the scoreboard at the clock, and you've got 20 minutes to go, and you go, right, let's do it, and the next minute the ref's blowing his whistle for full time. So you got to just time those runs, and it's only round 5, but he needs to get into the game a little bit earlier.
Yeah, 100%. Now, obviously, we spoke about South Sydney. We spoke about Melbourne. But for me, Melbourne, this is a side where I said when I gave my prediction, I'm going to go South 1 to 12. I'm going to come back here with egg on my face because if you ride out the Melbourne side under Craig Bellamy, you usually do come back looking a little bit silly. And that's what happened in this game. I still don't think Melbourne were at their best. I still don't think they performed anywhere near what we're going to see come the end of the season. But they did come out against South Sydney. They did get the result. It's a massive step going forward. And I can tell you what, having Munster back in this squad, they look 10 times better. And they will welcome back Hughes, obviously, this week against the Roosters. But then we'll welcome back the likes of Nelson and Tarek Sims in the weeks to come. So it is a very good squad moving forward for Melbourne. But let's jump in to the top performers. Obviously, with the tackles, you have Damien Cook on 46, Josh King on 52, Tom Burgess on 218 run meters, which is absolutely huge. And on 155 meters, you do have Trent Leoro and obviously Graham, which we spoke about, and obviously Grant there on line break. So what do you make of these performers? Did you think someone else could have stood up? Did you expect to see Burgess in that run meters? Did you expect to see one of those backlines in those run meters? What did you make from it?
Take your pick from the forward pack for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Tommy T, Tommy B, should I say, he gets a Dalian point for his efforts on Friday night. So good on him. And just players just doing their best, and they're standing out amongst the rest, and they're standing up at a good time because I think it's 6 or 7 weeks to go before Origin's been named. So everybody's battling out for those 34 positions.
100%, and like you said, Origin is around the corner, and I always seem to hate on Melbourne a little bit, but seeing Munster and obviously Grant have a bit of fun with the Rabbitohs trainer, who is also the Queensland trainer, made me hate Melbourne a little bit less for this weekend, but the hatred will be there. It will be back come Thursday, but a massive result for Melbourne, and obviously a bit of searching for South Sydney as they do take on the Bulldogs this Good Friday with no Alex Johnson, so it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. But